Family, what's going on? I want to talk to y'all a little bit about the movie Get Out. I mean, I've seen a lot of little videos. I know Umar Johnson, a couple other cats, a lot of different cats has done videos on the movie, breaking down the different aspects of the movie and how they see it. I want to particularly focus on the hypnosis part of the movie because it's a character in the movie. She's the mother of the girl that the main character goes to visit. I don't want to tell you too much about the movie if you haven't seen it, but the mother of the character, the main character, the mother is the one who does the hypnotherapy. She's a licensed hypnotherapist. They tell him that the first day he comes there. So I want to sort of to break that part of the movie down about the hypnosis and the hypnosis techniques they use. Because when I'm watching a movie, at being a hypnotherapist and knowing hypnosis techniques, it might be different from someone else just watching the movie and knowing nothing about hypnosis. So I just want to touch on that a little bit. So boom, go straight to the movie. So there's a scene in the movie after the main character, meets the parents of his girlfriend. They live in like this, painting a picture for you, this like wooded area. That night, he's feeling comfortable. He's seeing some weird stuff in the daytime with the housekeepers and everybody being black, and the parents are sort of acting weird. But he's oblivious right now to what's going on. He wouldn't even suspect what he's gonna eventually see when you watch the movie. So he goes outside and attempts to smoke a cigarette. Right now, it's just an attempt because he never actually lights the cigarette. If you watch the movie, he's going outside to smoke a cigarette, but he never lights the cigarette. Why doesn't he smoke the cigarette? Now he's outside in the dark. It's like a wooded area. He sees somebody from afar running. I mean, running fast. And like my people say in Philly, he looking like a stone cold nut. He looking real nutty while he running. I mean, his eyes ain't blinking. He running full speed like he being chased by dogs. But he just running. And he sees him from a distance, running straight towards him, right? Now he's, like I said, he's about to light the cigarette, but he see dude running real nutty at him, so he never lights the cigarette up. And then when dude gets, let's say, 5, 10 feet away from him, he makes a sharp right turn and runs the other way. Full speed, still running, but runs the total different way. So that would have bugged anybody out. Like, what was his problem? He didn't say nothing. He didn't do nothing. He's just running full speed, not blinking, looking nuttier than a mug, right? So he goes in the house. Right after seeing that nut shit, he goes right in the house. Who's waiting for him when he goes through the door? The mother. She's sitting right in the room where she does the hypnotherapy. Now, like any other scary movie, whether it be Jason, Freddy Krueger, whatever you're watching, you be into the movie and you be like, yo, don't go that way. They gonna kill you. Don't do that. Same thing with this. The whole time when she was sitting there waiting for him after he seen the boy running real nutty, she asked him to have a seat and talk to her. Big mistake. I knew that was a big mistake. Now, if you watch any of my other videos, I told you all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, which is still true. But movies sort of graft or, let's say, exaggerate the truth, which is a lie. It's a movie. You know what I mean? So they tell you from the director or the producer's perspective or whatever. But it's an exaggeration of the truth. And anytime they talk about hypnotherapy on TV or television, it's always an exaggeration of the truth. They always exaggerate and make it seem like it's something that's either unbelievable or something you shouldn't mess with or try to make a joke out of it. But it's something definitely real, and that's why they talk about it in movies and television. So he goes into the room and he sits down, which he shouldn't have sit down. Immediately she starts going in on him. She used a certain technique called conversational hypnosis. Now, what's conversational hypnosis? Conversational hypnosis is basically when, if you ever been to a party, if you ever been to a setting where there's a large people and you're talking to somebody and you're so focused on what that other person is saying, you actually oblivious to all the other things that's going on around you. I mean, you're conscious and know that there's people walking around. There might be music playing at a party. You're conscious of all these things, but you're totally like tunnel vision, focused on what this person is saying that is talking to you. That's called conversational hypnosis. Because remember, hypnosis is just a state of high suggestibility. and deep focus, or hyper focus as we call it. So when you're so concentrated on someone that you're so engulfed in the conversation, it could be on the phone, it could be through text message, it could be face to face. They call that conversational hypnosis. You don't have to have your eyes closed. You don't have to necessarily, you're in a trance, but you might not know you're in a trance, because he in the movie definitely didn't know that that was one of the first stages of what you call an induction. An induction is where you're inducing the trance on somebody. So she's inducing the trance by having conversational hypnosis. And what she did was she asked him about a traumatic event in his life, a traumatic event that he could basically imagine in his head. She made him imagine that the time when his mom died. And the time when his mom died, of course, was a traumatic event. He was a child. He was watching TV at the time. So another technique that is used, because there's conversational hypnosis, and then there's a technique in hypnosis that we use called past life regression. Let's say if you had a traumatic event in your life where you might have been abused or something happened to you, might have been an accident, and let's say that happened to you when you was 8 or 15, and now you're 35 or 45. So in order to get you to get over that event, I will have to do what you call past life regression techniques. I might say, can you imagine what you were doing? Let's say if you was 45, can you imagine what you were doing at 35? And you'll probably be like, yeah. Under the state of trance, you can still talk to me. You'll be like, yeah. I say, well, can you imagine what you were doing at 30, 25, 20? And of course, then I would do this slower. And if you can imagine at what you were doing or something you was doing at all those ages, I will eventually take you back to the time when you had that traumatic event and help you cure or heal yourself of whatever happened. That's a technique that we use called past life regression. So when he was in the chair, right? Because mind you, I'm going to make this a point. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. She had no power over him and still didn't have any power over him until he actually sat in the chair and started talking to her. Once he started talking to her, she immediately went in on him. And what I mean by going in on him, she immediately started inducing a trance on him. She immediately started going into conversational hypnosis, and with conversational hypnosis, she asked questions to trigger in his mind the event that happened in his head when he was young, when his mom died. Remember, she said, you can hear the rain. He heard the rain. You know what I mean? That happened in that day when his mom died. She said, where were you? What you was doing? He was in front of the TV. She said, what did you do about it? He says nothing. He was a child. He couldn't do nothing. But he knew this is the exact moment when his mom had passed away or went back to the essence or whatever. So she used that, and of course it's a movie and it's a horror movie. She used that to put them in what you saw in the movie called the sunken state. Actually, she didn't even do anything. He told her before she told him that he was paralyzed. Once he said, I feel paralyzed, because there was nothing he could do as a child at that moment to get, to help his mother. So he felt paralyzed at that moment. And she took him back to that point as a child, even though he was sitting right in front of her as an adult. And when she did that and he did that, basically, he went right back into that time. And by going back into that time, he felt paralyzed because he couldn't do anything. And remember, he said, I feel paralyzed. And then the hypnotherapist, the mother gave him a suggestion and said, you are paralyzed. And by saying you are paralyzed, it made the trance go even deeper. He thought he was actually paralyzed. Like sometimes when I'm hypnotizing a client, and this is what we call a deepener. Once I get them to close their eyes and to focus inwardly, sometimes I tell them they can't open their eyes. Not because they can't open their eyes. They can open their eyes anytime they want to. But if they believe they can't open their eyes, guess what? You won't open your eyes. And at that point in the movie, he actually believed that he couldn't move. He actually thought he was paralyzed. And when she said sink down into the chair that sunk in place, he actually felt like he was sunken. Why? Because he hypnotized himself. She didn't have any power over him. You think when someone is being hypnotized that the hypnotherapist or the hypnotist has power over you. You can't be hypnotized. I say it again, unless you want to be hypnotized. If you want to be hypnotized, you will be hypnotized. Sometimes you can be hypnotized without your knowledge of it. What that is called is covert hypnosis. They're hypnotizing you without you having any knowledge of it. But in order for you to covertly be hypnotized, you must have to be relaxed first. That means the person would have to come, and when they talk to you, they would have to build some type of rapport with you. Rapport meaning they would have to get you to feel comfortable and at ease. And by feeling comfortable and at ease, it's easy for them to talk to you. And when it's easy for them, you see how my voice has changed. When it's easy for them to talk to you, then they can induce that trance on you. It happens to you all the time. I told you, hypnosis is a state that you naturally go through really all your life. All throughout the day, you're in different forms of trance, and you don't even know it. Did you know that one of the biggest tools to hypnotize someone is right in everybody's home? And they hypnotize themselves with this all the time. What is it? It's the television. The television. Hear the word. Tell lies visually. They're telling you lies. You're sitting there relaxed and you're looking at whatever. It could be a commercial. It could be a show. But remember, all movies and media are forms of exaggerating the truth. When you exaggerate the truth, you're telling a lie. You feel me? So, anytime that you're sitting there watching TV, watching your favorite show, you have the ability to be hypnotized by what you're watching. It's all just a state of focus. If you're so focused on, let's say Empire came on last night. If you're so focused on what they're doing on the TV show and nothing else is going on in your, around you that matters, you're so focused on watching that particular TV show, then you were hypnotized. If you was ever talking to somebody, you was hypnotized possibly. If you were so focused on what your boss was saying at work and you couldn't, you was just focused because you wanted to make sure you did the task right and make sure you understood perfectly what they're saying. That's another form of being hypnotized. See, people think there's brainwashing involved in being hypnotized. Actually, no. Remember, hypnosis is a state of high focusedness and suggestibility. Suggestions is just a suggestion. Like I give you a suggestion to eat the right foods or a suggestion to not do certain things that may be negative. It's a suggestion. You get suggestions. People give you suggestions and directions all the time. So basically, when someone is trying the difference between brainwashing and hypnosis is brainwashing. When you look up the definition of brainwashing is when somebody tells you something, you believe it, and they tell it to you repetitively. They tell you the same thing over and over, and you believe it, and you don't let anything outside of that information enter and counteract that information. You feel what I'm saying? You don't let anything, no matter if what you've been told makes no sense, and someone comes and tell you something that makes total sense, you're not going to believe what they're saying. You're not going to listen to what they're saying because you're brainwashed. That's the definition of brainwash. So hypnosis and brainwash are totally different things. Hypnosis, you have to be relaxed and in a suggestible, highly focused state. If you're not focused, you can't be hypnotized. That's why I said only intelligent people can be hypnotized. But brainwash is just you accepting something that's just not true. It's a lie. You ever heard of the term trick knowledge? Trick knowledge. Knowledge, of course, is power. Knowledge, of course, is information. But all information is not the right information. So if somebody tells you something, they deliberately know that what you're seeing or what they're telling you is not true, it's trick knowledge. They're using knowledge to trick you. All lies come from where? They come from the truth. So that's why we call it trick knowledge, all right? So back to the movie and all that. So one thing I want you to realize too, anytime you go to the movie theater, anytime you've ever been in your whole life,